So, Yandere simulator it is. Good morning, afternoon, or not everyone. My name is Kai, and I'm finally ready to cover the next group of redesigns. For context, in my first video, I redesigned Ayano, Taro, and Info-chan. In my second video, I covered the first two rivals and Raibaru. There are some characters I don't plan on redesigning for a couple reasons. One, I don't care enough about their character or their story to warrant changing them. Or two, redesigning them would likely result in the erasure of the entire character's concept. Two examples of this for me are Kizana, who, if I were to design, I would make a lot less like herself, and her personality is decent enough as it is, and Asurito, who is just I don't really think she has much of a place in the main story, and she'd be so much better as a subplot with Budo. She wouldn't really be much of a rival in my AU, or she'd be kinda something of a side quest type of character. With that in mind, these are the three I will be redesigning today. 1. Oka Ruto, one of my personal favorites because she's great and she's a freak. Then Muja Kina, I think that's how you pronounce her name, because her plot is so messed up and I can't leave her unchanged for another video. And Jokichi Yudasei, I think, as per the request of this commenter right here. Starting off with the hot goth chick, who I am making a lot less mommy and a lot more average alternative teenager. Oka's character description states that she believes in the supernatural, including ghosts, demons, etc., so I think that outside of school, Oka would also dabble in witchcraft. I gave her a pentacle choker and an inverted cross bracelet. There is actually a difference between the star-shaped pentagram and its inverted counterpart. The inverted one takes inspiration from Baphomet and Satanism, and the upright one is a common symbol for paganism. In her description, she allegedly falls in love with Taro very quickly, and she chalks it up to an unnatural occurrence. Because of this assumption, she tries to study him? I'm sorry, what? In my version, the kids in Oka's occult club have been trying to push her out of her comfort zone to talk to people, and she very quickly became fascinated by the 3 unexpected disappearances surrounding Taro and Ayano. This morbid fascination led her to try talking with him, and found that Taro was surprisingly quite nice, and aside from the spooky stuff, they shared quite a few interests. I feel like Oka and Ayano could have been friends in an AU where Ayano was normal, cause they both have a similar thing going on with the sort of social outcast with an interest in this one average dude, you know? For her, actual drawing design, I gave her a darker undershirt than everyone else so that she stands out kind of the same way that Osana did. And then I also gave her the typical vampire bangs. I'll put up a picture of what I mean. Let's talk about this lady. So there's this nurse in the character catalog who literally just looks like a normal nurse. So who in their right mind would let a woman looking like this be around any children? Excuse me? What? I mean, look at what she's wearing! A skirt that short would get someone fired. A pattern I've sensed in the character art of the Yandere simulator students and even adults is that most of the women have large breasts and look a little bit like the Kardashians. The men, on the other hand, are a lot more diverse looking, and the boys all look like twinks. I don't really want to remove the roundness of the woman, but also the way they're drawn is just sort of ridiculous, and I know that this is an Alex-specific thing, because the main artist drew the less busty characters just as well as the OnlyFans-looking ones. My idea for Muja is that she cares just a bit too much about her patients. Taro ends up going to her more and more because, the 5 at that point teenage girls who died because they dared to know him in any capacity kinda gets to Taro. And his body can't actually handle the grief, so he ends up being very queasy very often. The faculty knows about the fact that he seems to be the root of this, so they're very gentle with him, and Muja especially seems to be looking out for his mental and physical health. Ayano, however, does not appreciate the fact that Taro is receiving comfort from a mother figure instead of staying weak and vulnerable. The poor lady is just overworked, underpaid, and this is Girlie's first job. It's really not her fault that there's a murderous kid on the loose. A few key things I changed about her design was, first, I made her hair a natural color. I think it's kind of obvious based on how I've designed the previous characters that I prefer having more natural looking hair on characters, and if it's dyed, I kind of make a point to show that. And I think it's really dumb that all the characters have ridiculous hair colors like that. And I also tried to give her more natural looking eyes. I also made her dress longer, because what is going on in that official artwork? That's not okay. What the flip? A big issue I have with characters like Muja, Kina and the other teacher lady is that for some reason, the character descriptions that Alex wrote make it seem like it's acceptable for them to develop attractions towards the kids, and it's acceptable for the kids to, like, be in actual relationships with them. So, like, that's the main thing I changed, you know, is that she's not a creep. She's just too nice for her own good. Okay, last but not least, Jokichi Yudasei. I know that this particular redesign won't bode well with the commenter who seems to quite like Jokichi as he is. However, you can't tell me that this emo is a ladies' man. We love an emo, and I actually love his original design if it weren't for his character description, because this guy would be shoved in a locker, not get girls, you know? So this time we're going for a more typical jock dude approach. I don't actually know much about the 1989 game mode because I kind of left the Yandere simulator fandom shortly before it got released. Much like with Taro, I tried to make Jokichi look a little bigger and more muscly. I gave him a more open, playful pose than his original, which to me seems very romantic and sweet. It really seems like Alex has convinced himself that nice guys finished first, but sadly that's just not how life works. At least not when you're a creep. I think it would have been fun if we could play 1989 as Jokichi, considering the fact that it's an opportunity for us to not only get a different game mode, but also a different perspective on how the whole Aishi family works, you know? What I also think is very interesting is that Jokichi took the wife's name, which I think is very funny. Anyways, so I decided in general to make him look a little bit more like those 60s, 70s bad boys that you see in movies and stuff. I know that it isn't exactly accurate to the time frame because the story and the game mode is set in 1989. However, I tried to look for accurate pictures and I could only find black and white photos. So this is all we're getting. I think it would be quite funny if Jokichi actually quite liked Ryoba Aishi and just felt it was an odd set of circumstances that she ended up being the only girl left for him. Because I think he'd be able to acknowledge the fact that he has no game, even though he tries. And so when he does get game, he's like, well, how did this happen? You know? And I figured he probably wouldn't be as concerned about, you know, all the dead people. Because, I don't know, he seems a lot more charismatic and personality rich than Taro is, you know? So, like, it's so interesting to see the difference between the main love interest in the past and the main love interest in the base game. Now, before I show off the finalized designs beside each other and conclude the video, I do have a couple announcements I want to make. First of all, thank you so much for the support on my previous Yandere Simulator video. I was not expecting almost 2,000 views. Considering the fact that this is the first time I've, like, this account and the first time I started posting on it was the first time I used my YouTube to upload things since my cringy gacha phase in 2019. So, like, it was really great and I'm so grateful. However, I won't be able to do Yandere Simulator stuff forever, you know? Because there's other things I want to cover, other stuff I can redesign, things I can draw, and I want to do an official design of all my current original characters. So let me know if that'll be something you're into. I will most likely do it anyways because I've already finished a lot of the characters from book 1. But yeah, that will be something that is already in the works, and I hope you guys don't mind that I stray away from the Yandere simulator a bit. It's not that I'm gonna give up on the project. I still have many redesigns to do for Yandere simulator, but I don't want that to be my only thing, you know? I also have a Discord. Now, I do not have enough subscribers to put links in my descriptions yet, so I'll have to figure out how I can open it up to the general public, but I do plan to make an announcement video on TikTok and Instagram about it, so the link will be there. The whole idea is for it to be a safe space for artists, OC creators, people in general who are creative to find each other and support each other. Shameless social media plugs, videos, that sort of thing. And I have always really wanted to be able to have my characters seen by a wider audience. And I know a lot of my mutuals on TikTok have the same sentiment. So I figured it would be a nice way to allow people to have a place to come together. Anyways, now the final reveals. Yippee. This is everyone that I've designed so far beside one another. If you want to see anybody else, just comment and let me know. That's how Jokichi Yudasei even got here. So thank you to the commenter who gave me the suggestion. And other than that, have a good morning, afternoon, or night. I'll see you back here later. La, la.